Hello friends, welcome back to the online classes. We were going through the chapter number 5, lesson number 5, footprint without feet. Now we had already started this chapter and almost half of this chapter we have finished, where we had seen how Griffin, the scientist who was good scientist who had invented a kind of a drug with which a person eats, he can be invisible like a sheet of glass. No one can see him, no one can find him. It was so easy. Now if he wears the cloth, then he could be easily identified. Now he was after having this drug, he became a lawless person. He burnt his landlord's house out of revenge. Then he started wandering in the street of London. He had invented this drug, or we can say he took this drug during the wrong season. It was winter season, January month, and shivering very badly because he was not having any cloth, he was not having any shelter, even he did not have any money. So he was just wandering, and as he was wandering, he happened to walk in the sand. So as he was walking in the mud, his foot print started appearing. Now in that mud, some children were playing, and they were surprised to see this footprint without feet. They were shocked. They were, for them it was something kind of interesting thing. So they were just following this footprint. There was no feet, there was no man at all, and they were just smiling, laughing, and walking behind this footprint. Now, as they started following him, Griffin, easily escaped from them. He just came onto the street where there was no mud, and since it was shivering, and it was winter. He had no cloth, so he got into a shopping mall and waited for the mall to be closed. When the last man went out, everything was closed. He came out of his hiding place. First, he went to the dress circle. There he went. He took all dresses for him, which was fitting for him, and put a hat. He was feeling hungry. He went to the restaurant kitchen. There, some meat and bread was there. He had it. Then some sweets he had, some wine he had, and later he fell sleepy and fell onto the quilt. Went to the quilt section and fell on a quilt. He thought that he would get up early, but he could not. He went on sleeping, and when his eyes opened, he found people around him. People started chasing him. Again, he had to escape from them, and only one option was to remove his clothes and become invisible. So he just removed everything, and once again he was without clothes and started shivering. He went to the theatrical area. There he knew so many shops were there. One of the shops he got inside, got upstairs, and put on all the things. His most worry was to fill the gap above the shoulder, that is the face. So there he found some bandages. He covered his face with the bandages and put on cloth, hat and everything, and came down. And the shopkeeper was there counting money. He just hid behind him and took whatever money he had. So up to here we had seen read the story. Now continuing, page number 28. Okay, page number 28. Eager to get away from crowded London, he took a train to the village of Epping, where he booked 2 rooms at the local inn. The arrival of a stranger at an inn in winter was in any case an unusual event. A stranger of such uncommon appearance set all tongues wagging. Mrs. Hall, the landlord's wife, made every effort to be friendly, but Griffin had no desire to talk and told her, "My reason for coming to Epping is a desire for solitude. I do not wish to be disturbed in my work. Besides, an accident has affected my face." So he wanted somehow to escape from this crowded London, and he took a train and reached Epping, a town called Epping, and he had already booked 2 rooms in the local inn. All the strangers, all the people of the Epping, they were all surprised, and they were looking at this stranger who was fully covered, from top to bottom with the long coat and hat, and over the faces there were bandages. So they all were surprised that who is this fellow? One thing. Second thing, during this season, winter season, nobody visits Epping because it is too cold. So no one comes out of their house. So a stranger, a tourist coming to their village, to their town, was itself a surprising thing. Because during the summer season only people visit each other's place or the nearby town and all. But here it was winter season and this man is coming, a stranger. He straight away went to Mrs. Hall, the landlady of the inn, and told her that he wanted to be all alone. He should not be disturbed. Mrs. Hall wanted to be friendly with him, but he just kept a distance and told that I have come here to be solitude, to be alone. I should not be disturbed by anybody. And about his face, he said that an accident took place. Because of that, my face has been disfigured, and that's why I am covering with the bandage. Satisfied that her guest was an eccentric scientist, and in view of the fact that he had paid her in advance, Mrs. Hall was prepared to excuse his strange habits and irritable temper. But the stolen money did not last long, and presently Griffin had to admit that he had no more ready cash. He pretended, however, that he was expecting a check to arrive at any moment. Now, Mrs. Hall was happy, satisfied with whatever the answers Griffin had given to her, that he is a scientist and he wanted to be all alone, and about his face. She was happy that he wanted to be all alone, he just wanted to be here, and she was more happy because he had given her advanced money. Okay? He had given money, extra money, means 1 month extra money he had given. Now the stolen money, it was over very soon. Within no time the money was over, and when she asked again for the rent, he said, right now I do not have ready cash and I am expecting some money to come. So when it comes, I will give it to you. Right now I do not have any money. Shortly afterwards, a curious episode occurred. Very early in the morning, a clergyman and his wife were awakened by noises in the study. Creeping downstairs, they heard the chink of money being taken from the clergyman's desk. Without making any noise and with the poker grasped firmly in his hand, the clergyman flung open the door, surrender. Now, within no time, an incident happened in the village, in the town Epping. The clergyman and his wife one day had to get up early because of the lot of noise happening in the study room. They both got up, came out of the room. He had a club in his hand and went to the room. They could easily hear that money were taken. The coins were shaking, clinking sound was there, and they could easily hear the noise about it. The clergyman and wife came to the room. He suddenly opened the door and shouted, surrender. As they opened, nobody could be seen there. Then, to his amazement, he realized that the room appeared to be empty. He and his wife looked under the desk and behind the curtains and even up the chimney. There wasn't a sign of anybody, yet the desk had been opened and the housekeeping money was missing. Extraordinary affair, the clergyman kept saying for the rest of the day. But it was not an extraordinary at the behavior of Mrs. Hall's furniture a little later that morning. Now, when the clergyman opened the door, it was totally empty. There was nobody in the study room. And they both were not believing because they had heard the sound of money, the coins were being taken. They searched the whole room, behind the curtain, beside the table, benches, everywhere, even in the chimney they looked, but nobody was there. Whereas the drawer of the study table, it was still open and the housekeeping money was missing. He was shocked. He was saying that it was an extraordinary event that had happened. Some money has been taken, but person is not seen. So the whole day this incident was talked about. But Mrs. Hall's furniture had something else to do. It was not the whole that day. It was not any extraordinary day. It was something unbelievable day, because that day Mrs. Hall's furniture behaved in a different manner. The landlord and his wife were up very early and were surprised to see the scientist's door wide open. Usually it was shut and locked, and he was furious if anyone entered his room. The opportunity seemed too good to be missed. They peeped round the door, saw nobody, and decided to investigate. The bedclothes were cold, showing that the scientist must have been up from some time. And stranger still, the cloths and bandages that he always wore were lying about the room. Now, that day itself, the landlord and his wife, Mrs. Hall and Mr. Hall, they got up early by accidentally, and when they came out of their room, they saw that Griffin's room, the scientist's room's door, were open, which were never opened, which were always closed. No, it was never open, but that day it was open. So out of curiosity, Mrs. Hall and Mr. Hall, they both went to the room to see what is exactly he is doing in the room. When they came in the room, they did not find Griffin at all, whereas they found his dress hanging here and there, and on the bed, the bandage was there. So there was no noise, nothing. They went to the bed, touched the bed, and found that he just got up from the bed because the bed was still warm. So they were just surprised to see that nobody was there, and the room was totally empty. The clothes and his bandages were up here and there. All of a sudden, Mrs. Hall heard a sniff close to her ear. A moment later, the hat on the bedpost leapt up and dashed itself into her face. Then the bedroom chair became alive. Springing into the air, it charged straight at her, legs foremost. As she and her husband turned away in terror, the extraordinary chair pushed them both out of the room and then appeared to slam and lock the door after them. Now, Mrs. Hall was standing there and was thinking where the fellow is gone. There is no sign of the person, whereas all his clothes are here. Suddenly she felt something, some breathing behind her, and when she turned back, the hat which was there on the post of the bed it just flew from the post and came towards Mrs. Hall and almost making her fall down. When she looked back, she saw again the chair this time was alive. It became alive and it started flying in the air towards her, almost towards her leg. And almost the chair pushed both Mr. and Mrs. Hall out of the room, and they could hear the door being closed very hard. Mrs. Hall almost fell down the stairs in hysterics. She was convinced that the room was haunted by spirits and that the stranger had somehow caused these to enter into her furniture. My poor mother used to sit in that chair, she moaned. To think it should rise up against me now. So Mrs. Hall almost fell down came out of the room and fell onto the stairs, rolling down, came down, and she was surprised to see that the stranger who was living there has done some witchcraft, because of which the chair became alive on which her mother used to sit. And that chair, in fact, she was thinking that the mother was going against her, no? Coming and beating her. Like that she thought, so how could my mother go against me? The feeling among the neighbors was that the trouble was caused by witchcraft. But witchcraft or not, when news of the burglary at the clergyman's home became known, the strange scientist was strongly suspected of having had a hand in it. Suspicion grew even stronger when he suddenly produced some ready cash, though he had admitted not long before that he had no money. Now, the feeling of the neighbor, among the neighbor, the feeling was something different. People were thinking that all these things are happening because of this stranger. This stranger is doing something here in their town. So they were all doubting at him, and their doubt became more convincing when he produced the money, because just yesterday he told that he does not have money and he is expecting money to come very soon, and today he is giving the money. So it was clear that this stranger is doing something wrong in their town. The village constable was secretly sent for. instead of waiting for the constable, Mrs. Hall went to the scientist who had somehow mysteriously appeared from the empty bedroom. Now, somebody had gone to meet the constable of the town and informed him about these two incidents. One, which had happened at the clergy house, and second, which was happened in Mrs. Hall's inn. Now, Mrs. Hall did not wait for the constable to come and ask or questions at all. She herself went straight away to the scientist and who had appeared from the empty room. So she just straight away went and asked questions from him. "I want to know what you have been doing to my chair upstairs," she demanded. "And I want to know how it is you came out of an empty room and how you entered a locked room." So she just questioned him straight away that, "Can you tell me that what were you doing in my room, in this room, and what had happened to my chair, what you have done to my chair, which was there today, it started flying and almost hitting me, what you have done." Second thing she asked, "How come you came from the empty room? You were not there in the room, and from locked room, how could you come out?" No, that was the question. Now, hearing these questions, we know that Griffin, he was very short-tempered fellow. He doesn't like questions. He doesn't like to answer anybody's questions and all. So he got a little wild. He got a little angry on them. The scientist was always quick-tempered. Now he became furious. "You don't understand who or what I am," he shouted. "Very well, I'll show you." So he is very short-tempered fellow, and he said, "You want to know what I have done or what I am doing and all, and no one had asked me such kind of questions. Okay, so who are you to ask me the question? And you want to know who am I? Then I will show you." Suddenly he threw off bandages, whiskers, spectacles, and even nose. It took him only a minute to do this. The horrified people in the bar found themselves staring at a headless man. So he removed his hat, he removed his whiskers, sideways whiskers, the goggles, the false nose, and slowly he started removing the bandages. Within minute, above his shoulder, nothing was there, and people were terrified. They got frightened because they saw a headless man standing in front of them. They all got so frightened that from where this fellow had come now. Mr. Jaffers, the constable, now arrived and was quite surprised to find that he had to arrest a man without a head. But Jaffers was not easily prevented from doing his duty. If a magistrate's warrant ordered a person's arrest, then that person had to be arrested with or without his head. Now, by the time Jaffer, the constable, reached to the bar, and he also was surprised, he also was shocked to see a headless man standing in front of him. Now, he is a constable, he is in duty, and secondly, the magistrate had ordered to arrest that man. So, once the magistrate has told to arrest, whether the man is having head or he is having without head, no problem, he has to be arrested. There followed a remarkable sense of the policeman tried to get hold of a man who was becoming more and more invisible as he threw off one garment after another. Finally, a shirt flew into the air and the constable found himself struggling with someone he could not see at all. Some people tried to help him but found themselves hit by blows that seemed to come from nowhere. Now, after this, there was so much of tussle in the bar. Jaffer was trying to catch a person who was becoming invisible little by little. He removed his shirt, pant, trousers, everything, and finally became invisible, and Jaffer had to catch an invisible man. Somehow he was caught up by this invisible man and he was not knowing who had caught him. People came to save him, but they also did not know who was hitting them. From left and right, the Griffin was hitting them. So Jaffer and the people all were confused from where the blow was coming, because they could not see anybody there in the bar. But they were getting hits. They were getting beatings from this in the air. From the air, they were getting the hitting and all. And they could not do anything. They all were helpless. In the end, Jaffers was knocked unconscious as he made a last attempt to hold on to the unseen scientist. There were nervous, excited cries of "hold him," but this was easier said than done. Griffin had shaken himself free and no one knew where to lay hands on him. So Jaffer got a big hit and he fell down unconscious. People shouted, "Hold him, hold him." It was easier to say "hold him," but whom, where, how? No answers, because he was invisible and they were not knowing whom to catch, how to catch, where to catch. Okay, because invisible man cannot be seen and they were just getting hits and all, hits again, and he freed himself and ran away from their place. I hope you have understood the story. Thank you. Have a nice day.